Hello my friends, we're continuing our trip, and now we're heading to Zhenghe. This is a settlement on the way from Fujian to the sea. The mountains here are also very beautiful. We'll see how things are going there with tea. This is Gaosulu, which means expressway in English. This is a peculiar symbol for this place, which is much respected by locals. 2 trees that grew together, each one is more than 200 years old. The director of the factory is a lover of Chinese antiques. Firstly, these gates. They were manufactured during the Ming dynasty. They were carefully dismantled and delivered here as an entrance to the factory. And these bricks surrounding the gates and the foundation, they were carefully removed from a ruined construction from the Song dynasty and relocated here. This means that these bricks were preserved from the Song dynasty. They were just carefully placed here. This is a board with a list of the achievements of the factory, that it was awarded the quality standard ISO 9001, which is one of the best, and also ISO 22000, which means that the factory complies to all international quality standards. It's also noted that they reconstructed fully the manual production of white tea, and that they carry it out now as well. Primary drying of tea after harvesting takes place here. They put the tea on the trays and leave it for 1 day. This is a huge space for drying tea, more than 70 meters. It has a capacity to store 10,000 jin of tea. This is a very big factory, but what is surprising is that they completely preserved the traditional technology of production of white tea without any modifications. Only wooden materials are used, both for the construction of the drying room and the trays. They are bamboo, not metal. It's considered that trays with the metal mesh, which can also be seen at other factories, are not traditional, so they spoil the quality and taste of the tea. We can stay here. We can see that the tea has just been picked. The harvesters just brought it here. They lay it on trays and leave it in this drying room. This is the tea that was left for 2 days. As I said, the process of drying can be longer here for oolongs and other tea varieties. It can take from 1.5 to 3 days. This tea was drying for nearly 2 days, and I see how the leaves are changed. They get wrinkled. This tea is almost ready. The factory is situated in a valley between 2 mountains, so the wind from them is channeled down here. In order to preserve the tea aroma from fading in the wind, they close the room with a big shutter and open it sometimes if there is too much moisture, for example. But as a rule, they keep it closed so that the tea can be evenly dried and the aroma doesn't spoil.
粉呢就是白色，淡呢就是灰色，所以徽派建筑有个特点。
This is the interior of the factory yard. The layout is not random. Everything is governed by the rules of feng shui and tai chi. Even at the center of the yard there is a small stone garden, so to speak, which is equipped for practicing tai chi quan.
Boss， 买了它，买。
非常好，这是我看见这样的，就是
Here we can see a perfectly traditional Fujian dwelling, which is more than 100 years old, as I understand. It was taken apart and delivered here. The director of the factory is very fond of traditional Chinese culture and Chinese traditions in general, so he transferred it here. This is a place of leisure, a micromuseum devoted to this tea factory. In every traditional house in China, especially in Fujian, there is a place of Tianjing. Maybe you travelled to Longjing. It means dragon's well. Here it means celestial well. It's a place where the rainwater collects. It was used in times of drought for collecting water, and secondly for its beauty. You sit at home drinking tea, and the water falls from the sky and collects here. It's a very feng shui scene. This is a painting by one of the most famous calligraphers in China. It was gifted to the director of this factory. And here we can see a small exposition of archaeological findings from the vicinity of Zhenghe. The teapots of the Tang dynasty, the famous Song cups that were glazed traditionally. There is a photo of foreigners, English people who arrived to buy tea more than 100 years ago. And here people are packing tea for export to England. She also said just now that people had already begun producing tea in Zhenghe in the Song dynasty. Next we can see Yangpin, the samples of different teas. This is Zhengshan Zhaozong from 1977, in the original packaging that was soldered closed. At every factory, tea testers take some tea from batches from every year and then hermetically seal it, and then they can compare it to modern tea. Here we see Fujian Hongcha 1962, red tea from Fujian. And here three most famous teas: Zhenghe Gongfu, Bailin Gongfu, and Tanyang Gongfu. The three most famous red teas of Fujian, the cans from 1962. A very iconic exposition. And this is Lu Yu, the well-known author of The Classic of Tea, the Guardian of Tea, or maybe even God of Tea for Chinese culture. This is another calligraphy work of a renowned Chinese master. It depicts a crossroads and an eye and a path, so it means to choose the path that you need. This is a traditional box or pack, the prototype of modern big cardboard boxes. They are used for white tea and Wu Shan teas. Why do they use them? Because tea is fragile and it can be damaged during transportation. This is an old box for white tea. Here the twisting of the tea takes place. I can see the quality of the raw material. It's practically only buds. When the drying is finished, They roast the tea. This conveyor belt is automatic. It slowly moves closer to the roasting oven. Tea moves on the conveyor and gets roasted evenly. When it's roasted, the waste is removed by hand, and the product is ready. Right now we're tasting the most fresh, just-made tea. It was produced today. Its aroma is wonderful. I'm always interested only in one thing, quality and price. Actually, that's two things. But it's one thing really, because it's the balance between these two. Now we're on the road to the plantations of Zhenghe, white tea and red tea, to the mountains there. Right there, to those mountains. I would say that they're higher than in Fujian, and just as beautiful. We'll see how the marvellous tea in wonderful Zhenghe grows. We're going up to the mountain to look at the bushes of Moychay. This is Zhenghe town, downhill in front of us, or Zhenghe village by local standards. Here we see awesome mountains where the marvellous white tea from Zhenghe grows. This is Zhenghe Dabai, large leaf white tea from Zhenghe. The leaf can reach a big size. This is a typical leaf. More simple white tea is produced from raw materials like this. You can see such big leaves in the finished tea. But as a rule, more quality teas, like Baihao Yinzhen, which is made only of buds, and Mudan Wang, and the best Bai Mudan is made of such tips, 2 leaves and a bud between them. Enjoy your tea.